cried together as we held each other. I walked away from the prison feeling empty. Later that evening, Godmother, she called me, like she always did.
How are you?
Oh, man, I'm doing too good, man.
Yeah.
How's Michael doing?
Michael is in Colombia now.
I got something to give you a Michael, too.
Well, the phone conversations in federal prison, most of them, if not all, are recorded.
So is the JFK plan still together?
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad to hear that, you know. But you be sure to be careful, though, you know.
Be careful for what?
I mean, just always know what you're doing ahead of time, you know.
I love you too.
Oh, you do?
I remember you today, tomorrow, and forever.
Oh, that's good to hear. I love you so much.
I love you too.
Yeah, but I love you always, okay?
More kisses, okay?
Okay, Griselda.
Okay, baby.
Okay.
Ciao.
Bye.
That's the last time I've heard the Godmother's voice. Once it was recorded that Griselda and I were discussing a plan to kidnap JFK Jr., the proper authorities at the prison immediately alerted the FBI, in which the FBI alerted Kennedy's family. Kennedy basically asked who was Griselda Blanco because he had no idea who she was. Once being informed that she was a billionaire cocaine dealer and she had every resource that could possibly carry out the kidnapping, from what I was told by the agents, that Kennedy, he never lost his cool. And the very next morning is when the FBI came and kicked my door down. The lead guy on the case pulled me to the side. He was like, Charles, you know, had Griselda kidnapped Kennedy, the federal government, the FBI, would have gladly released her because Kennedy's life is worth far more than Griselda's incarceration. But once we got Kennedy back, the earth would have been too small for Griselda to hide. We would have spared no resource to go and rearrest her.
When the U.S. Marshals came, got him and all that shit, and it was hot, so it was like a lot of people got kind of spooked. Spots started shutting down, you know what I'm saying? Niggas started going their separate ways, changing their numbers, you know what I'm saying? This and that, being on the under, because we didn't know what they done had on him. We thought he got a federal indictment, you know what I'm saying? He going down for life, and we his crew, so it was like it was gonna be a domino effect. Everybody going down, you know what I'm saying? So we was spooked.
I went to my post office box one Saturday morning. When I opened the box, it was a subpoena from the Florida Attorney General's office, the state of Florida versus Griselda Blanco. It sort of knocked the wind out of me because I wasn't expecting to be subpoenaed. I didn't want to go to Miami because, you know, a hostile environment. I was basically entering enemy territory because I was Godmother country. You know, she still had many subordinates in the Miami area, so I was afraid of that. But unfortunately, at the time, I was on probation for a machine gun conviction. I was arrested with a MAC-10 machine pistol, so there was no way out for me. If I refused to go, I would have been held in contempt, so they could haul me into jail for as long as it took for me to testify in the deposition process. I was met by a homicide sergeant, Al Singleton. We shook hands. He shook my hand firmly like a man. He looked me right in my eyes and explained to me, I have a job to do. I know you don't want to be here, but I just want to ask you a few questions so I can finally put an end to this investigation. I had a suite. The hotel I stayed at, Sergeant Singleton, as well as numerous other Miami-Dade homicide police officers, they were in the adjoining suite. The following morning after arriving in Miami, I actually overslept, which was uncharacteristic of me because I wake up early every morning, you know, for the past 15, 20 years. I had a peace over me that I hadn't experienced in a number of years. My thoughts were, once I do the deposition, this part of my life would be over. I would place this behind me and never look back. Right before the deposition was scheduled to get underway, back in California, at my mother's house, the phone rang. My mom answered, and there was a Godmother subordinate on the other line. Well, where's Charles staying in Miami? I need a phone number on him because it's very important that I contact him because I have something for him. The Godmother is offering $1 million if he would stonewall his deposition. I don't think the offer was legitimate. I think it was more or less to try to ascertain my whereabouts in Miami to come and silence me because if I die, my testimony dies with me. So homicide sergeants and the police officers, we caravan from the hotel to the state attorney's office. When the deposition began, I was in the room along with the prosecutor, Sergeant Al Singleton, of course, Griselda Blanco's attorney, Nathaniel Diamond. The deposition began with Nathaniel Diamond asking my name, my date of birth, my social security number. I refused to give my social security number because that can be used to locate my place of residence. Nathaniel Diamond interjected and said it can also be used for a number of legitimate reasons as well, as to pull up your past criminal history. It was a verbal sparring match back and forth between Nathaniel Diamond and I, and at that point, I was nervous. I mean, the Godmother's a very dangerous lady. If I give him that information, it would have been a matter of time before I was tracked down and murdered. In order to throw Nathaniel Diamond off course, I asked to take a bathroom break. I walked down a long carpeted hallway to the bathroom. I stayed there for a few minutes just to gain some measure of confidence back. As I'm leaving the bathroom, I almost bumped head on into a secretary. She was, a nice looking lady. She smiled and I smiled. She reached out her hand and pressed a piece of paper in my hand. So I opened my hand and I unfolded the paper. It basically said, "Charles, I think you're cute and I would like to meet up with you later at your hotel." So I smiled, I winked my eye. You know the number, you know where I'm staying at. She walked off, her little slim ass switching down the hallway in her skirt. So I laughed to myself and I went back to the prosecution's office. I wasn't concerned about the secretary coming to the hotel because I'm not doing anything wrong. Having sex is not illegal. So this was just a bitch who happened to like me, and I was going to knock her over. I'm excited, to hammer this woman. She was a nice looking lady. I let her in. She was wearing a black leather coat, started kissing and whatnot, hugging and kissing. She got excited, I got excited. So she removed the black leather coat. And the only thing she had under there was lace crotchless panties and a lace bra. Not standard issue at all for the state attorney's office. She says she has always had fantasies about having sex with a black man. She swore me to secrecy. I assured her that, this was our little secret. Nobody ever knew. That's a conflict of interest, so that would have threw the whole case off. It would have threw the whole case into disrepair. Sergeant Singleton called me and let me know that the prosecution's case is in shambles.
The prosecutor's office kind of bungled the case as a result of some things that happened internally in the state attorney's office, which is like inconceivable to me, but apparently they happened.
Sergeant Singleton said, "Do you remember the secretary that you met in the prosecutor's office?" I said, "Yeah, I had some memories of the lady." He said, "Well, because of her, the case has been fucked up because she had phone sex with Reeve, the prosecution's star witness."
Ayala struck up a relationship with one of the secretaries for the lead prosecutor. He was giving them gifts, inappropriate gifts, and allegedly having phone sex with her on the phone, resulting in her dismissal, 2 other secretaries being dismissed. The state attorney's office had to recuse themselves.
Singleton was absolutely livid. Reeve from the county jail, he had been calling the secretary's phone collect. And during the course of them building up a friendship, which was beyond the lines of secretarial duties, their friendship evolved into a phone sex sort of thing, where she would go into her little cubicle or whatnot, and she would have phone sex with Reeve, and at the same time, she would be masturbating. There was even one secretary who baked a cake for Reeve and had her husband, a Miami-Dade police officer, personally deliver the cake to Reeve in the county jail. The husband was lame to the fact that his wife had fallen in love with a convicted murderer with 40 murders on his resume.
It became known as the phone sex scandal of the state attorney's office. They determined that Reeve had been compromised so much by this phone sex scandal that it was really tenuous whether the witness should even proceed. The case rested and fell on Reeve's testimony. And if he's compromised as far as his credibility, then his testimony couldn't be believed.
The state basically had a plea bargain with the Godmother.
She pled guilty to second degree and I forget, 16-year sentence or something like that.
So she went from a death penalty case of potentially putting her on Florida's death row to a plea bargain, a 20-year sentence for 3 murders, which meant with time that she had already served preparing for her trial, she was going to be out in 60 months, which is 5 years.
Riverita created the case and destroyed the case. I don't know, maybe he did it on purpose.
It was no conspiracy. To spring Griselda out of jail in this dramatic fashion. So it was just an office slut type situation.
I never really had a heart-to-heart discussion with him as how you could do something so incredibly stupid to totally fuck up a good prosecution.
I talked to Al about it, and he was incensed because he knew that they had an airtight case against the Godmother.
It was incredibly disappointing and frustrating because I thought the case still could have been prosecuted.
This was completely preventable.
Sometimes people take the path of least resistance, and that's what happened here.
But if it had not been for phone sex with Reeve, Griselda would